What is one of the biggest problems that most players have with their serve toss? Well, I'm going to reveal that today and give you my perspective, what I think you can do to serve even better and toss more efficiently. My name is Jeff Salzenstein, founder of Tennis Evolution, former top 100 ATP pro, and as a USTA high performance coach, I am committed to helping players of all levels get what they need when it comes to their tennis improvement. And today we're going to talk about the toss and specifically the height of the toss. Now, again, one of the biggest problems I've seen over the years when I've worked with players on court is that they toss the ball too darn high. So let me explain that a little bit more in depth. When the ball goes up, okay, there are different heights that you can hit the toss or hit the ball at. So some players like to get it right at the peak, okay? Other players, like Pete Sampras or Roger Federer, I think they do it just perfectly. The ball hits the peak and it descends a little bit, and then they hit the ball. And that helps them get the right amount of topspin. But the problem that I see with so many players out there is the toss is way too high, and then the ball drops way too much before contact is made, sometimes 2 or 3 feet. You see that with Maria Sharapova. You see that with other players, even male players that are not serving as well as they could. I actually think they could serve more efficiently and with more power if they lowered their toss. And so what I want to do is I want to just give you a sense of how I would go about doing things today when it comes to, as it relates to your toss. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, the key, like what Pete Sampras and Roger Federer and other great servers, what they focus on is getting that toss to its peak and letting it drop just a little bit, okay? I would say about a foot, okay? That's what you want to focus on. You want to get that ball to drop just enough so that you can hit up on it. That's where the topspin comes from. When the ball is allowed to drop a bit, you can get the topspin that you need and the power, of course. And so what happens when players have too high of a toss is I have found that it really can throw off their rhythm. So what I've seen over the years is that players, if they toss the ball too high, they might actually have to wait in the trophy position and slow down the momentum of their swing. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I'm all about rhythm and timing on the serve. And so that's one reason I teach the continuous swing on the serve. I like to have that arm keep moving. Well, if you do the continuous swing drill, that toss is not going to be able to drop. Now, I realize that toss right there is geared to have you hit it more at the peak. But again, that is a great drill to offset tossing too high. So you really want to keep the arm moving, and you can see that toss doesn't really have a chance to drop. Again, what happens is when the toss is way too high, when it's a skyscraper up there in the air, a lot of times players start their motion and then they have to slow down and wait in here. And you know what that does? That can cause the elbow to drop. So a lot of problems start to happen when the toss is too high. So we've got to make sure that we sync the swing up to the toss height. And as I mentioned before, if you can find the peak of the toss, if you can look up when you're hitting the ball, when you look up when you're about to hit the ball and you see it at its peak and it can drop just a little bit before you hit up on it, that's when you can get that great combination of topspin and power. Now, another problem that I've seen over the years is that players are in a pinpoint stance. And when they're in a pinpoint stance, they toss the ball and the ball comes out of their hand and they wait before they move this foot. So they toss it really high, they wait, then they move their back foot, and then they hit the ball. Again, this causes, I believe, a rhythm that doesn't really work for the player. It makes it so that the toss is not in sync with the lower body and the way that the body should work naturally. So if you want to get your toss a little bit lower and keep your pinpoint stance, I always advise you or others to make sure that you move this foot as you're tossing the ball so that you can keep everything moving. This is what Bob and Mike Bryan do really well. Now, they get their toss right at the peak. They have that faster Goran Ivanisevic type of motion where basically what they do is they toss and go, all right? And so that actually promotes more of a slice serve instead of a topspin serve. So, of course, there are different ways to skin the cat with the serve. But again, one of the biggest problems I see is that toss is just so darn high. In fact, my freshman year in college, I struggled with my serve. I had one of the worst serves in college tennis. And I remember my stepdad came to watch me play in an indoor tournament in Washington. He hadn't seen me for a while. My toss was so high, we were playing indoors. And after the match, he said, "Man, you're bringing icicles down with that toss. It's so high." And so, again, the benefits of having a really high toss is you can get that topspin on your serve. You can hit up on it. And you can also focus on slowing your rhythm down. If you feel like you rush on your serve, it's good to maybe let the toss get up a little bit more. I just get concerned when players toss the ball too high. So again, ideally, we want to focus on hitting the ball just as it's dropping. So it gets to the peak and it drops a little bit. So here's a good example of what I'm looking for. Okay. Now, here again is an example of the wrong way to do it. To toss it really high and wait, okay? And wait for the ball, and the ball really drops. Just look at many of the players that serve on the women's tour, especially those that have pinpoint stance, and you're going to see a really high toss with the ball dropping, really descending a lot. You'll see that in junior tennis as well. So again, I'm a big proponent of getting the motion to move, getting things continuous. If anything, let's get the toss more at its peak, like the Bryan brothers do, or slightly descending, slightly dropping like Federer and Sampras did, and it's one reason why they have great serves. Let's get out there and practice that and try to get that toss lower and keep the arm moving, keep things more continuous throughout the swing. Now, hopefully you got a lot of value out of this video. And speaking of the toss, and also speaking of challenges on the serve, I actually have something that I want to give you today. In fact, I actually want you to take a 30-second quiz that is going to tell you what your specific serve destroyer is. I've identified some serve destroyers that are killing your serve, and here's a hint. One of them is the toss. So if you take this quiz, which if you click the link in the description below or somewhere in this video, you can take this 30-second quiz and it's going to reveal what your specific serve destroyer is. I'm also going to give you the solution to it as well. And I know you're going to like it. I know you're going to be able to improve your serve with it. So again, make sure that you click the link in the description to take that quiz so that you can learn your #1 serve destroyer. Subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notifications, ring that little bell, make sure that you get updated on all the valuable content we're going to be delivering in the future. I really appreciate you tuning in today, and make sure you take action, okay? Take that quiz, find out your serve destroyer, get the solution to that serve destroyer so you can serve better and get more fulfillment and joy out of your tennis. I look forward to seeing you at the next video.